Welcome, everyone. It's Tuesday, June 10th. This is Training Wheels, a deep dive into the lessons of A Course in Miracles through a book that I wrote in 2019 called Training Wheels. And I want to thank Cindy Krupp and An Open Door for making this podcast possible. And I hope we'll see more people as they join. So welcome to the table. Today's lesson for me personally is a really important lesson. It's a good lesson. I sat down this morning and read the headlines and in the news, which I do every morning, whether I want to or not, and just was reminded as I read through them that my holiness envelops everything I see. Or read or hear or touch. So take your seat at the table and I will read through. We're on lesson 36 today. I'll read through the first 35 lessons to set the table, so to speak. So relax. Be happy with yourself. Nothing I see means anything. I have given everything I see all the meaning it has for me. I do not understand anything I see. These thoughts do not mean anything. I am never upset for the reasons I think. I'm upset because I see something that is not there. I see only the past. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. I see nothing as it is now. My thoughts do not mean anything. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. I am upset because I see a meaningless world. A meaningless world engenders fear. God did not create a meaningless world. My thoughts are images I have made. I have no neutral thoughts. I see no neutral things. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. I am determined to see. I am determined to see things differently. What I see is a form of vengeance. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. I do not perceive my own best interests. I do not know what anything is for. My attack thoughts are attacking my invulnerability. Above all else, I want to see. Above all else, I want to see things differently. God is in everything I see. God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. I am not a victim of the world I see. I have invented the world I see. There is another way of looking at the world. I could see peace instead of this. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. And my holiness envelops everything I see. My holiness envelops everything I see. A Course in Miracles has only a few rules. One of them regards the concept of truth. What is true must always be true, or it is not true. There cannot be a little truth. It must be wholly true, or it is false. So when a lesson tells me my mind is part of God's, I am very holy. There can be no halfway whole. There can be no halfway complete. There can be no partly one. My mind is forever part of God's mind, or it isn't. There is no negotiation on this point. The world we think we see is a completely made up story. It is a world in which conflict is normal, pain to be expected, and loneliness constant. This is not the world God created. Remember, what is true must always be true. Source is either all loving or not. It cannot be only partially loving or loving only under certain conditions. All of Source's creations are created in love, from love, by love, out of love, and as love. If love is not present, you can be sure illusion is. The personal mind created and sustains this three-dimensional, quote-unquote, reality. This world is a frightening and insecure place. Is that not true? Fortunately, there is a greater reality, a big R reality, that is more significant than this one. It has more dimensions than this one. When Jesus said, "My Father's house has many rooms," he was referring to the idea of multidimensional reality. He was referring to the one mind with its infinite expression. Today's lesson shows us true vision. It challenges the personal mind's mistaken projection of separation. If my mind is part of God's and I am whole, then everything I see with true vision must also be whole and part of me. What is whole cannot be separated from source or from anything created by source. Traditional Christian teachings use the concept of sin and guilt. In fact, they gain power over the mind. They gain power over truth, although nothing can gain power over truth, but they seem to by using the concepts of sin and guilt and telling us these are what are true. A Course in Miracles denies the reality of sin and guilt. Sin is merely the perception of separation from source. And because I am never separated except in illusion, I cannot sin. Illusions are not sins. I can make the mistake of thinking and even behaving as if I am separated, but such actions are never real. How can they be real when reality is whole? What is true is always true. Today you will be practicing seeing with whole vision. The idea of sin and guilt serve no useful purpose for you or anyone else. They obscure the reality of source. If your mind is part of God's, you must be sinless, or a part of God would be sinful. Clearly, this cannot be. Try to practice 4 times today for 3 to 5 minutes with each practice. This practice is enjoyable and will make you feel more at peace. Take your seat, whatever seat you find yourself in. It could be at the grocery store, or it could be the place where you sit every day to do your meditation. It doesn't matter. Just relax wherever you are and close your eyes. With your eyes closed, repeat the lesson in your mind and then open your eyes and look around slowly. My holiness envelops everything I see. Let your gaze fall gently upon objects around you and say the lesson. For example, you might say, my holiness envelops that cash register. My holiness envelops the box of Cheerios in front of me. My holiness envelops that rug, or my holiness envelops that chair, that body, these fingers, that tree. During your longer practices, take several opportunities to just close your eyes and place your awareness on the breath and repeat the lesson and let it sink in. As you say the words, feel the words in your body. Give yourself permission to feel your own holiness. Remember, you cannot make the choice not to be whole, because that is how you were created. Source's mind does not know separation. Be mindful of these words today. As often as you can, Close your eyes and repeat the lesson. Then open your eyes and look about, applying it to whatever falls within your field of vision. Be slow and effortless in this. Let the peace of the words become you. Let the peace of the words become you, even if only for a moment. My holiness envelops everything I see. What is an envelope? An envelope is both the sender and the receiver of what it contains. My holiness envelops everything I see. You are both the sender and the receiver of all things that are in your purview. Your holiness envelops everything you see. A Course in Miracles tells us there is only one way out of the world's thinking, just as there was only one way into it. Understanding totally by understanding totality. There is only one way out of the world's thinking, just as there was only one way into it. Understanding totally by understanding totality. Enjoy this lesson. Do it as often as you are reminded to do it all day long. You cannot hear the truth enough, especially in these days. Thank you for being here. Let's open it up. I love that quote. There's only one way out of the world, out of the world's thinking, just as there was only one way into it. Understanding totally by understanding totality. For me, I'm sorry, Alka, go
I
ahead.
just I just wanted to ask you, could you explain what you mean by understanding totality? I
Yes,
didn't get it.
okay. That's a quote from A Course in Miracles. And the way that I interpret it is there's only one way out of the way this world thinks. How does this world think? It thinks by seeing everything as separate. So that's how the world thinks. All things are separate bodies, separate people, separate thoughts. Understanding completely. So the only way out of it is for us to completely understand, totally understand that everything is one. Totality. Everything is the totality. So I have to totally understand. That means no exceptions. That everything I see is part of a totality. Everything I see is the totality. It is one. And that's a real mind bender for most people. It's a tough one. Thank you for asking that, Alka. That's part of what Sandra says, the Course in Miracles is a piece of literature. And that paragraph just kind of explains why. It's Cindy. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. I'm so happy. We've hit the summertime, so the fact that we have this many people in the room right now in like the beginning of summer and so busy in vacation, I'm just feeling so amazing. The words that were coming up for me as I was sitting in this lesson and the energy of this container in your words was Helen's. You know, the decision to stand still as self. That one, I'm gonna have to go and maybe be with those few minutes, that clip again, stand still as self. So to me, she was teaching that same thing, this idea that even though she said that she made that claim when all of her physical worldly life was falling apart, her relationships were falling apart, her finances were, every part of her life, she said, was a disaster. And she chose to stand still as self, which to me is the same thing as I accept the truth is true and there is just this one, and God is holy and God is love. Therefore, any worldly indication of other than that can only ever be an idea. And if I don't give it my energy, it's gonna whatever, it's gonna stop like the hamster wheel without a hamster. So it's like this whole I can allow the holiness to flow through me and touch the world, but I don't have to give the world any meaning. I was listening to Regina this morning and she said, it's not that we don't do anything in the world. It's that we don't give any of what we do in the world the meaning. You know, it doesn't have the meaning the mind would have it have. So everything is an extension of love that way. So, but it was stand still as self. Those were the words that I was inspired to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Barbie, how are you this morning?
I'm doing good. Okay. I just love this whole lesson because it's like what is true must always be true or it's not true. That's like you can't be just a little bit pregnant. I mean, so that's gonna sink into me deeper. But when you were mentioning, take it into your body, go deeper and take it in. I had a millisecond or whatever that little second you called it. I felt something in the pit of my stomach and it was gone. So I guess the more I practice, the more the millisecond or whatever will be going. But then you were talking to Alka about the totality, something about that. So I might not get that fully, but if I fake it till I make it, will it eventually sink in?
Oh, yeah. Because the world is always telling you that things are separate, right? Always. And so we're unlearning what the world tells us. I'm going to put that quote into the chat. I'll put it in there right now. Cindy, can you look while I'm typing? Can you take questions or continue while I'm typing this?
I can do that.
Thank you. I know Richard has something to say.
Oh, and I was looking at Michelle because she's in the center of my screen.
Me too.
And all this light is like shining from the background.
You guys are so funny. I'm sending my light to all of you. We're all in the light. We are all the light. So Barbie, when you said fake it till you make it, it reminded me of Cary Grant, because he was super. I read somewhere that he was super. He was he had a hard time with self-esteem, and so he kind of embodied that fake it till you make it, and he started to there was, from what I remember reading, it's been years since I read this, he developed this great rhythm and this great confidence in who he was. Now I don't know anything about his spiritual path, but but I just read a book, and this woman, Mabel Katz, was talking about the Indigo Children, and they talk about fake it till you make it, which I'm not really sure what. I'd like to explore that a little bit more, because some, Barbie, some moments I'm like, oh boy, um, I feel very untethered, you know. But I know that's not who I am, and so anyway, I'd love to hear more about, how all you. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but go ahead, Barbie. What were you? Would love to hear what you say, what you have to say.
I was going to say is I believe it, but my mind can't wrap totally around what's going on. So I believe part of it, but if I fake it till I make it, it'll sink into me deeper and deeper and deeper, and eventually I'll get there. I
That-
don't have to know how. I don't have to understand, which I don't, but I know I'll get there because I've gotten places that I didn't think I would get before. So I'm going with what's working for me.
I love that, how you just described that. Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you.
I knew Richard was going to say something about this because this is one of Richard's favorite sayings.
I learned it first in 12-step program. And but then when I got to the Course in Miracles, I realized that's what the Course says in the introduction to the lessons. You don't have to believe what you're reading. Just do the lesson. So that's a fake it till you make it. You may not understand or even agree with what the lesson is saying, but you do it anyway. That's my definition of the Course of faking it till you make it. And finally, one day, maybe years later, maybe the 15th time you've done the lesson, you go, oh my God, and now I understand what the lesson means. So that's my take on that. I don't know what Amy was referring to before she read the lesson, but about reading the news today, but there is just right happening around the world. So I look at that as myself manifesting my child. Children don't have temper tantrums. We all know that children have temper tantrums. Well, we have a bunch of children on the planet who don't know what they really are. They don't know their love, unconditional love. They think they're a body, and they think the world is real. And they're having temper tantrums. I want to make it my way. I don't agree with what you're doing. So rather than discuss it as mature human beings and reaching some kind of compromise, out of frustration, they decide, no, I'm going to attack physically the people I don't like. So what do you do with children when they're acting out in a way that could be harmful to other children? You stop them. Now, sometimes you have to stop them with force or a threat of force. If you don't stop doing what you're doing, I'm going to put you across my knee and spank you. Now, that's my generation. Today, you go to jail if you do that to a kid. But anyway, whatever you have to do to maintain the childish behavior so you can bring order back to the family. You can't have your children just doing whatever they want, whenever they want it. There has to be a certain amount of order in the family in order for the family to be at peace. So the same is happening on a larger scale throughout the planet. So for me, it's being the love that I am. That's all I can do. I can extend the light and the love that I am in truth to everybody who's acting up. It doesn't matter what time, what team they're on, or why they're doing what they do. It's not important. The point is, I'm realizing that the manifestation of myself as them is less than peaceful, less than loving. I'm going to be the love. I'm going to love them all, regardless of what side they're on, regardless of what they're doing. They're just children having a temper tantrum. And I love them because they're part of me. They're a holiness I see in everything. So I love you all.
Thank you. Cindy. And then Patricia.
So I don't use fake it till you make it anymore. I use just show up and do the work. You know, just keep showing up, which is also an AA term, I believe. Just keep showing up. For me, that I don't, there are other reasons, but for me, what's most useful, and I don't know how many times I've woken up in the morning and I didn't feel like getting out of bed, but I got out of bed anyway. I didn't feel like taking my walk, but I took my walk anyway. The last thing I wanted to do was open the book or sit for the dyad, but I opened the book or I sat for the dyad anyway. The practice takes care of itself. My job is to keep showing up for it. And I just wanted to highlight, especially with this lesson, like the holiness lessons is a perfect example of that, right? Like my neighbor could be playing his music at a decimal level that vibrates the whole apartment complex. And there's no part of me that believes that my holiness is going to embrace this experience. But my holiness embraces everything I see when I stop and say that. And then it hasn't stopped the music. Well, that's not the point, right? Richard taught us that last week in a lesson that wasn't recorded. If I do it anyway, even though I don't believe that my holiness is going to lower the volume of my neighbor's music, my holiness envelops everything I see. What I have learned over continually doing the practice is that I start enjoying the music, and I find that the stillness and the peace that happens because I keep showing up for the practice is the answer, i.e. what Richard taught us last week that wasn't recorded, but somehow dropped anyway. So for me, it might be the same thing, but for me, it's less about faking it, and it's more about doing the work, even though the belief doesn't exist that it's going to work. Just keep doing it anyway. That was what I wanted to share.
Thank you. That reminds me, and we'll do Patricia and then Michelle. faking it till you make it. Faking it has a little bit of a negative connotation. There's nothing wrong with it, but it does have a little bit of a, it brings some other things with it. And that's okay. You know, as Richard has reminded us, you know, one of the first attributes of a teacher of God is trust. And so even though I don't understand the lesson, or I might not even agree with it, or I might not experience it, I can still trust that if I practice, if I stay with it, if I, as Cindy says, do the work, which just means doing the work means staying interested. It means fulfilling my desire to know the truth, keeping my desire alive, that it will become known to me. Right? So keeping your desire to know the truth alive, enjoying your desire to know the truth, is a form of trust. And so that's something, that's another way of looking at faking it till you make it, is trusting. And the other thing I wanted to just say with regard to this lesson is that the holy instant presents itself in infinite forms. But ultimately, the holy instant is the same for everyone. That's because the gap between thoughts is the same for everyone. That place out of which all arises is the same for everyone. So when I look at the world I see, and I say, my holiness envelops everything I see, I know that the place out of which all the infinite variety arises is the same for all of us. And that's my constant thread. That's one of the threads that I use to experience this lesson, because I'm still in the trust phase of this lesson. I don't see with the body's eyes the holiness of everything. I don't know anyone that does. But we can practice it by going within and knowing in that holy instant that it's all coming from the same place. Michelle, what you got?
I think, Patricia, you had something to say, yeah?
Oh, I'm sorry. Patricia, your hand wasn't up but come to the head of
Oh,
the table.
thank you. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that for you noticing. It says my hand is raised. Oh, no, it doesn't. I'm sorry. Um, and I'm sorry for apologizing.
Give
I
me
was
for
thinking that, okay. During the day, when I remember, I just ask the Holy Spirit to come in. And when I do that, my heart opens. And fake it till you make it. For me, it's asking the Holy Spirit to come in because it's practice. And in that practice, whatever is coming up is coming up. And coming from that place is really important. But I have something else that I wanted to add. I'm having a hard time because intuitively I feel like there's a revolution happening in the country, in the United States. And I'm delighted. I don't want people to suffer, but there's part of me that is delighted. Now, is that the Holy Spirit speaking? No. Because people will be hurt. So I get confused. That's all, which is not uncommon. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Michelle.
Well, Patricia, this is very interesting because what you just said was is right in alignment with what I wanted to add here. With this lesson, I find it so interesting. So Amy, as you led us through it, I kind of came to this little aha moment where I thought, yes, my holiness envelops everything I see, and I don't have to love it. What I'm seeing, I don't have to love it. But my holiness envelops it. And then, Patricia, as you just said, it can be a little bit confusing, but we trust that everything's working out perfectly. So I don't have to love, like, I don't look at the headlines, just it's too overwhelming for me. But when I look at certain situations that bring, I try to notice without judgment, bring a lot of fear within me. I think, well, I don't have to love this, what I'm seeing, but I trust that what I'm perceiving will gently be undone. There will be an undoing. There will be a spirit's repurposing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
And we don't know what that repurposing might look like. We don't
Right.
know. And that's.
Well, and I feel like wanting to know, I don't want to know because it feels sometimes too heavy. And I'm so grateful that I'm not in charge and that I don't have to judge, because when I go down the judgy road, then I lose a lot of energy. So yeah, not having, we don't know what anything is for, and just trusting and delighting, as you said, Amy, delighting in kind of trying to delight in the journey. And what is this? Okay, well, and then as Richard said, we'll be the love that we are in the midst of this fascinating time. Anyway, thank you.
It is an amazing time. And, this is not, I sometimes wonder as we gather, things are happening around us. They're happening within us and around us. And part of our being together is reminding each other and supporting each other as each one of us has our experience with this world. And so we each have our own private lives. They're not private, nothing's private, but they seem to be. We each have our own seemingly individual journeys. We're each part of a community. We're part of a state or a country. And yet all of it is enveloped within our holiness, within the holiness that we are. So it's good to remind ourselves of that. I sat in bed last night. I mean, my husband is always very hopeful. I'll be, he'll always say, well, the sun is shining somewhere today. And he's right about that. There are many people today who are having great days. They're really enjoying their day. And he's absolutely right. Last night, as I got into bed, I thought, this is the first time in my life that I've actually kind of wondered whether I should start stockpiling food or something. I actually had that thought arise in my mind. Maybe I should go get a bunch of soup and put it in my basement. And my husband said, yeah, he was thinking the same thing, which really surprised me because he never says that. You know, he always looks for the bright side. And so when I came down to read this lesson and prepare, again, you know, to echo Michelle, I was just so grateful to be able to have this container to, you know, as Cindy said, to stand in the self. Stand in silence in the self and look at all of this that is happening in the container of wholeness, because that is the one place that never shifts and never changes, and from which we can always know the truth. So Richard's he's gonna take us all over his knee and give us a good spanking now.
Not quite. Not my job. Another phrase I like is not my circus, not my circus, not my monkeys. But there's another phrase that I remember a few months ago on my course study group. This came up, and we had a conversation. It is what it is. It's another phrase that some people are not comfortable with. So the world will unfold the way the world unfolded. It's already over, right? We all know that. That's what the Course says. The dream is over. We watch it from a point at which it ended, believing we make the journey once again. So whatever we see in the world, when we get involved in the world, we make it real for us. And that results in suffering and pain. So the Course says, if you choose the Holy Spirit, which is, I believe, is the memory of what you really are, then you will be at peace. And only when you're at peace can you extend the love that you are in truth. So if you really want to extend love, you have to bring your mind into peace. And you be there by, at least for me, by ending in the silence. I talked about a few days ago. Regardless of what happens in the world, whether we have a war or whether we have a revolution or whatever happens, I'm going to be the same person I am now. I'm just going to love everything. Oh, I'm not going to worry about, although I do have provisions stocked away in case the worst happens. But so, I'm going to focus on being the love that I am, regardless of what's going on in the world, and hopefully, my repurposing of the dream as a result of that and the Course in Miracles, I won't have to experience a revolution or a war or whatever seems to be going on. So, but that's another phrase we have. Some people just couldn't relate to. It is what it is. It's so not good. So, that wanted another way of phrasing it. And I don't remember what the group came up with, but it was like, whatever's happening is happening for a reason. And I believe the reason is good, and whatever floats your boat. I like the short, precise, it is what it is. Get over it, love it, and press on.
Oh, well, on that note, thank you, Richard. Get over it. That's such a military man's way of looking at things, huh? Yeah. That's funny. Oh, thank you. Patricia, come to the head of the table.
Thank you. I won't be at the meeting at 12. I have a doctor's appointment. I am seeing the neurologist today. Well, did I not go on a trip? I went to the worst possible case scenario, you know? And then and it was okay to go there because I was in fear. And when I recognized that it was fear, I laughed and I went, okay, back to the present moment. It is what it is, as Richard said. And being it is what it is I will go into this appointment. The Holy Spirit is there, it's coming with me. So I'm going in with an open mind and an open heart and see what unfolds. Period. So I just wanted to share that, and it's a good example of how the dance goes, the dance of life or lifing. 1 minute it's this, and the next minute it's that. And hopefully we end up in some kind of equanimity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the
Love you
only
all.
that's the only sane way to look at it. Right? That's the only sane way to look at it. I don't know. I don't know what anything is for. But I know that whatever I'm doing and wherever I am, my holiness envelops all of it. Right? All of it. Even if the body is somehow not around. My holiness is always there. Right? I don't know what will happen. Let's see. Isn't this fun? Right? I am infinite, indivisible, impersonal. Right?
That's
Let's
pushing
see.
it, Amy.
Well, but it is, but you know,
And
let's see what can happen. Let's see. What will this next moment bring? That is one that takes trust. And that is one that takes practice. And what a great thing to practice. Not in a way that says, I'm going to hold myself against this moment because, I don't know what it's going to bring. It is going into it with an open heart, as you said, Patricia. I don't know what this is going to bring, but whatever it brings, I know that I'm not alone. I'm not the body. I am the envelope, the sender and the receiver of this entire experience. Oh, this is a great conversation. Cindy, what you got?
Great conversation, and for whatever reason, I'm inspired to take it to the toilet. It's only been 5 years since the United States had a toilet paper shortage. Yeah. Do you remember the toilet paper shortage? And my parents, in learning that they could get everything that they ever needed on Amazon.com, double and triple ordered their cases of toilet paper, right? And I think at one point, I don't know. Do you know anyone who ever ran out of toilet paper, by the way?
No, but you know what? I know that the bidet industry quadrupled its sales and is still selling based on that toilet paper memory.
I didn't meet anyone that ever actually ran out of toilet paper.
Do your mom and dad?
You did, Barbie? And you're still here to talk about it. Like it didn't.
It wasn't me. It was
Oh, but
somebody I know.
Well,
Do your mom and dad still have
this is the manna from heaven part of the story, right? So they had hundreds and hundreds of rolls of toilet paper, all stored in a basement that floods on a regular basis. So the vast majority of that toilet paper got moldy and had to be thrown out. Yeah, but Kleenex is like, what's the definition of toilet paper, right? I thought that, it was like it was an artificial shortage, and somehow we all made it through. I can remember sitting there, well, the toilet's right next to the shower. It was like, but it was the number of rolls of toilet paper they ended up throwing away. And as I'm sitting listening to the conversation, right, the words manna from heaven kept rolling in my head, because God said, I will always provide what you need in the moment that you need it. So where are you placing your trust? And that comes back to this lesson, right? My holiness envelops this fear. My holiness envelops the news. My holiness envelops this internal sense that the world is falling apart and I'm going to fall apart with it, whatever. It's not really just, right? It's not really what is actually going on in the world. When we allow our holiness to envelop all of our imaginative future terror stories, amazing things happen.
And when I say that, my holiness envelops this fear, my holiness envelops whatever, it is the same holiness for all of us. And I love that. Thank you for that. That was a really great way to end this gathering.
In the toilet.
Taking it to the toilet. I just love that. Honest to God, I was just looking this morning we were thinking about getting a new toilet, and I was thinking we should get a bidet because then you don't need toilet paper. And the bidet sales just have gone up astronomically since that whole thing. Yep. So, my holiness envelops everything I see. The toilet, the tree, the toilet paper. Los Angeles, my holiness envelops LA. Right? Barbie.
Yeah. When I heard Richard talking about I can't even remember, but it's like I hated watching the news because every time I watched it, I was judgmental. I'd even yell at the TV. Well, blah, blah, blah. But when he brought up something, it's like, today I noticed I'm not as judgmental. My fear level has gone down. I still have my preferences, but I don't screen at the TV. And it is, like he said, it is what it is. But I feel more calmer by not getting aggravated by the news. So my holiness envelops everything I see. And I think I had this feeling before, but now that we had the lesson, synchronicity, I can't argue with synchronicity. It's true. Whatever's true is true.
That's perfect. Thank you. Well, practice this lesson today as you are moved to do so. And, I remember there is no personal self. There are no personal thoughts. So every time that I'm moved to remember, it's the Holy Spirit, the whole I Spirit, that is moving this seemingly separate self. It's the Holy Spirit moving within to look around and appreciate what I see, to know that it's me, that it is all arising within my holiness, and loving it, whatever it is, whatever it is. And when the shit does hit the fan, we're all going to Richard's house because he's stockpiling stuff, and we can make sure, yeah, we're all going to go there. We'll see
How
you
I
soon,
don't
Richard.
have to use my guns to keep you away.
I think I
And my
gotta start walking now.
defenselessness, my
Our
safety line.
safety lies.
I gotta start walking now. I have no car.
Okay.
Richard, do you accept people from Mexico with sleeping bags?
They're all the children of God.
Thank
All right.
you.